All right. Well, it looks like we are live. So, hey, everybody, welcome to this Past Perfect live stream. This is the first part of our SIE success series that is going to be right here live on LinkedIn. So, if you're tuning in, thank you so much for tuning in. We are super excited to have you here. My name is Clayton Norman. I am the uh, social media leader here for Serify, which is the Past Perfect, the parent company for Past Perfect. We really appreciate you guys being here. We're going to be talking about all things SIE, why the SIE matters. And this is, again, the first part of a three-part series that we're going to be doing right here on LinkedIn, focused on the SIE exam. This is the first real step in your career into financial services, and it is a critical juncture for you. So it's really important to set yourself up for success on the SIE as the first kind of stepping stone into your career in financial services. A couple of quick things. This video will be recorded, so you'll be able to watch it. If you're not able to tune in live with us, you'll be able to find this on our LinkedIn channel in perpetuity after this broadcast. But hopefully, if you are here tuning in live, we want to hear your questions. If you have comments, if you are curious about any of the things that we talk about today, drop those in the comments, and we would love to see those. We'll try to respond to your questions as quickly as you can. We'll have a little bit of time set aside at the end of the stream to answer questions. But again, as if you have questions that come up or comments, please share those. And some of them we'll get to in real time as we go through this. The other thing is if you're tuning in live right now, or if you're tuning in after the fact, let us know where you're watching from. We love to see people tuning in from all over the world, all across the country, people who are engaged, committed to their career success and career growth, and thinking about taking those first steps to get into financial services, which obviously starts here with the SIE. So let us know where you're tuning in from. We'll give you a shout out. Let us know if you have questions or comments or anything that comes up during our conversation. If you want to share, we'd love to have that engagement and love to hear it with you. So again, I already introduced myself. I'm Clayton, and we are here with our Past Perfect instructor, Barry Ballard. He is not only a Past Perfect instructor, right, Barry, but also a Past Perfect alum. So Barry, can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, absolutely. So my career actually started in hospitality, and then I had a brief stint in insurance before coming to the financial services sector, working for a broker dealer. First step of that process was taking my SIE. And I've been working, helping others pass their licensing exams for the past 5 years. I teach SIE, Series 7, Series 9, 10, 63. It's something I'm passionate about, helping people in that first step of their career into financial services.
All right, I love it, and this is great. Thank you, everybody who are dropping your locations in. I see Michigan, Aldana. It's great to have you here from Dallas. Saw Gage from Oceanside. Patricia, great to have you. Heidi from Kansas City, Missouri. Love it. Jacob, guys, keep them coming. We love seeing that. Let us know where you're tuning in from. And also just, I spend a lot of time as the social media person for Past Perfect, hearing from students, college students and career changers who are interested in the SIE, but also our other securities industry exam courses. So some of those questions that I hear from them in comments, I'm going to be bringing those into the conversation a little bit as well. So, really cannot overemphasize how great it is to have Barry here with us, speaking from both sides of his experience as the instructor, but also as someone who has been through the process of passing the SIE. Hi, Lauren from Michigan State. Love to see that. So I think now that we've got that, Alexander, Hawaii, wow, man, they're just rolling in. Love it. So let's start right at the very beginning. Barry, for someone who is brand new to financial services, let's just level set a little bit. What exactly is the SIE exam?
Yeah, absolutely. So to work in the financial services industry at a broker dealer, investment advisor, you need to become licensed. And the first part of that is passing your SIE exam, which is the introductory exam, covering the basics of the industry, sort of showing that you have that basic knowledge to work in the space. It's a multiple choice test. It's 75 graded questions, have an hour and 45 minutes to complete it. But it covers broad industry knowledge.
Okay. And who is the SIE exam designed for? Like who are the people that actually need to take this exam?
Yeah. So it's designed for anyone who's 18 years or older who's interested in a career in financial services. So anyone can take it. Those who need to take it are people who will be registered reps at financial services firms, at a broker dealer, investment advisor. In order to work in that capacity as an associated person, you do need to pass this test. So it's a qualification exam, the first one that you will take.
Okay, and probably the first of many, right, in your career if are going to progress through financial services. Yes.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Okay, and speaking of those other exams, what's different about the SIE from other securities industry exams like the Series 7 or the Series 6, Series 63, whichever you want to take?
Yeah, so the SIE is going to be the introductory exam, and it's required. We call it a co-requisite. In order to become a registered rep, you need to pass your SIE and then the appropriate qualification exam. Most famous is the Series 7. That's the general securities representative exam. It allows you to sell stocks, bonds, mutual funds, really any securities. If you're going to be working in a job just selling mutual funds, you could do a Series 6. But those qualification exams, so you need to take your SIE and then the appropriate qualification exam to become a registered rep at a FINRA member firm.
Okay. And, what are the kinds of topics or concepts that the SIE covers kind of high level, right? We don't need to go too deep on this.
Yeah, I think I've said the word, basic industry knowledge a few times, and that's sort of misleading. It is basic in the sense, hey, we're not diving too deep into any particular topic, but the breadth of the content is pretty astounding. We have different products, different regulations, different account types, how we open them up, prohibited practices. The breadth of the exam is pretty staggering and something that most people aren't used to, or they haven't taken an exam that covers so much content in one exam.
Okay. And I know that some of the securities industry exams require firm sponsorship. Again, I'm the marketing guy, so I don't know all of the ins and outs of this, but is the SIE an exam that you can take without being sponsored?
It is, and that's sort of unique. For the qualification exam, Series 6, Series 7, you need sponsorship by a firm. You need to be hired by a firm, and they sponsor you to take the test. SIE is available to, again, anyone who's 18 years or older who's interested in a career in financial services. So, Clayton, you could go sign up for your SIE after we're done today, and so that's sort of unique, right? Those who are going through school, who are thinking about a mid-career change, can absolutely sign up for and take this test on their own without that broker-dealer sponsorship.
And just to drill down on that a little bit, somebody right out of high school without even going through college level courses could take it. Would you recommend that, or is that cart before the horse kind of situation?
Absolutely. So if let's say there's an 18-year-old just graduated high school and they're set on a career in financial services, I would say, hey, absolutely worth looking into taking this exam on their own. I think we'll talk about sort of how that looks to a firm, that sort of thing, but absolutely something that I would recommend. Could be a good career move.
Great. And just saw Trenton and Bianca joining in there. And I know I missed Mason a little bit earlier, but thank you guys for tuning in. Also, if you're just now tuning in, we are covering the basics of what is the SIE exam. We're here with Past Perfect instructor Barry Ballard, who has been through not only passing the SIE himself with Past Perfect, but also is our instructor now who teaches some of these courses. And we want to hear your questions and comments throughout this conversation. So please drop them in the comments and also keep letting us know where you're tuning in from. Also, if you're not catching this broadcast live right now, we still want to hear from you. We still want to see your comments. We will be responding to comments kind of in perpetuity. So if you have a question, even if you're not catching this right here today on February 25th, we will still answer those questions and get back to you in the comments if you have them. So Barry, what's one misconception that you hear from first-time SIE candidates?
Yeah, so the biggest one that comes to mind is people think that it's a math test, right? People get very concerned about, oh, what equations do I need to know? What math do I need to know? And I want to set the record straight. Hey, this is not a math test. You could see some math on the test, but typically, one or two calculations across the entire test. Understanding definitions, general concepts is going to be the far more important thing. So for those of you who are studying or going to study for the SIE, don't get wrapped up in the equations. Good news for people like me, hey, this is not a math test.
All right. Okay, so now that we know what the SIE is and why somebody would take it, let's talk a little bit more about why it matters. So from an employment perspective, from an employer's perspective, how do employers and firms view the SIE?
Yeah, so firms are going to view the SIE as non-negotiable, right? If you're hiring someone for the role of a registered rep, the SIE is an exam that they have to pass along with their qualification exam. So it's seen as a necessity, something that must be done. And, it does give that employee broad industry knowledge. It teaches them about, again, everything from regulations to different securities products. But it is viewed first and foremost as sort of a hurdle to that employee becoming a registered rep.
Okay, cool. And so what does it tell somebody about, or what does it signal to somebody at one of those firms, right, or an employer about a student who has already passed or is in the process of passing the SIE? What does that tell them?
Yeah, so if someone's passed their SIE when they're looking for a job at a broker dealer, that is going to put you right on the top of the stack of that recruiter's resumes. When I was interviewing at broker dealer firms, a lot of the questions, and entry level position was asking about, hey, how are you at test taking? How are you at studying? And that was specifically because as soon as I got hired, I was going to have to take my SIE and then my Series 7, and they wanted to know, hey, how is that going to look for you? This is a big hurdle to get over. So if you can come in, if you are applying for jobs in financial services and you already have your SIE, again, you're going to be top of that stack of resumes. Absolutely. I'm not going to guarantee that you'll get the first job you apply for, but you will absolutely be first and foremost in that recruiter's eyes.
And I think that's something important to kind of drill down on a little bit too, right? Once you pass the SIE, that's clearly not the end of your test taking. Why is it important to those employers once you're hired that they've hired somebody who's competent at passing future exams? What's the benefit there to having demonstrated that?
Yeah, so someone who's passed their SIE, they've demonstrated the ability to drill down, put in those hard hours of study, understand these concepts, and pass the exam. So they will have to go on and take their Series 6, Series 7, whatever it may be. But by taking that SIE already, it shows your initiative, your drive, and your ability to work through that difficult process. So once again, if you're looking to stand out, I know job market's tough these days, right? It's not easy to get hired. Anything you could do to make yourself stand out is a good thing. And I think having your SIE would be a huge benefit for those looking to enter this industry.
All right. And so you've seen students use the SIE as a way to stand out, or what about switching careers or applying before graduation, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So this is something that I think is underutilized. I've seen it where people have internships and then they take their SIE exam. And for those people, internship, pass their SIE, absolutely guaranteed jobs, once they graduate. I haven't seen as many people, either mid-career changers or recent grads, go out and do it on their own. I think that's something that's underutilized in our industry. And I just don't think there's as much information out there where people realize that that's something to do. So I appreciate you, Clayton, putting together this live stream to sort of get the word out to those who are in college or something like that, looking to move into the securities industry. So I think it's underutilized, something that a lot of people aren't taking advantage of, but they do have the opportunity to do so.
And what kind of roles or career paths does the SIE open up the door to? And maybe once you answer that, maybe you can talk about a little bit about your own sort of career progression through some of these exams.
Yeah, absolutely. So again, the SIE being the introductory exam is going to open lots of different doors depending on where you go, whether you're going to be working at a broker dealer selling stocks, bonds, mutual funds, whatever. If you're going to be working at an investment advisor giving investment advice, even things like investment banking or working in operations, the SIE is the starting point for those careers. Now, my career is sort of funny. I came into financial services. I was working at a broker dealer, helping people trade in their accounts, and then pretty quickly I moved into the role of teaching for these exams. It's something that I'm passionate about, and I love to see people either new graduates or people switching mid-career. Hey, this is an opportunity to enter brand new industries, secure a good life for themselves and their family. And so the ability to help people pass exams is something that I, again, am very passionate about. And that's where I focus my personal career.
Very cool. Very cool. Of course, we love having that here at SIE and Pass Perfect. One of the things that I think that this brings up to me, and as I mentioned, I hear quite often from students, from especially university students, and recently we've been hearing quite a bit from Dr. Matthew Faulkner at San Jose State University, who is kind of the point person for one of our university partnerships that we run through Pass Perfect. And he runs a cohort of students each year that he helps that use our Pass Perfect materials to prepare for and pass the SIE exam. We'll share some of those student testimonials that we have received, because we have gotten some really great stories from some amazing students who went through his cohort and landed some great jobs, opened the door to their careers in financial services. Look for those videos and testimonials in the comments. We're going to share those, but there's some great ones. But one of the things that Dr. Faulkner mentioned is it's a great way for students who want to go above and beyond, right? Even before they graduate, to signal to employers that, hey, I've got the wherewithal and the ability to pass. I can handle, taking in large amounts of information, but also I have the ability to, persevere, to take on a difficult exam, something that contains a lot of information, and, see it through, pass, and it signals a level of commitment, right, to the industry. This is somebody like putting in the effort to say, I really want to do this. And as a way of demonstrating that, I'm going to put in the work, the extra hours, maybe not take some weekends off from going out or skip the football game, put in the work to demonstrate that this is important, and, shows a really strong signal to employers. And so look for those videos. We'll post them in the comments. They're great. There's some really great stuff. So check those out. And also, I hear from those students and in some of those conversations that not only going through the Pass Perfect University Partnership Program do they signal that they have the wherewithal to pass these exams, but it also opens up some really great networking opportunities, because those Pass Perfect University programs are run in partnership with some of the major firms. And you get to meet people who are working in the industry day in and day out. And even more than that, it also then just builds some confidence, right? I've proven myself, I can do this, I can take this on, and I am capable of not only getting this job, but excelling in it, and then clearly have the ability to pass tests and are not going to waste your employer's time having to take or retake those future tests, right? They've already shown that they can do it. Okay, so let's talk about some trends, common questions that we have about the SIE. So, in your capacity as an instructor, and I don't know, at this point, you've probably trained hundreds, maybe thousands of students. I'm not sure how big your classes are. But what are the trends that you've noticed, and who's taking the SIE and why?
Yeah, at this point, it's definitely thousands of students. It's been really amazing, and I would say people fall into two categories: those who are recent grads, people who maybe they were a finance major or something like that, and they say, "Hey, I want to work in this industry. Um, let me join a firm and jump right in." The second group is going to be people who are sort of like me, right? I worked in hospitality originally, and I said, this isn't doing it for me. I want to move into something else. I want to move into financial services. So those mid-career changers, and honestly, it's probably about a 50% split. New grads versus those career changers is what I see. And again, moving into the financial services industry at any point in your career could be a really great way to secure a good future for yourself and your families. So those are the two populations I work with primarily.
Okay. And so, between those two populations, what are the most frequent questions or concerns or anxieties that you hear from those different types of students?
Yeah, so I already talked about, hey, this isn't a math exam. I don't want you to get any equations tattooed on your arm before your test day, nothing like that. But the other thing people say, hey, is this a hard exam, and how much time is it going to take to pass? And I would say it is a difficult exam. I talked about the breadth of the knowledge that you're going to learn through this process. And in terms of realistic timeline for passing this exam, we're looking at typically between 40 and 80 hours of dedicated study time. In high school and college, I was a little bit of a crammer, right? I would study day before the exam, that sort of thing. SIE, that's not going to be possible, right? It's going to take dedicated effort. And people, I think it's important for them to understand that when they get into this process is, hey, this is a significant commitment of your time, of your resources to pass this exam. So that's something that I would want those folks to know who are thinking about jumping in. Absolutely worth it, but it is going to take some hard work.
And I don't want to go too deep into this, but I know, Past Perfect's programs have some really great tools for helping you structure and strategize your study time when it comes to the SIE. Can you just very briefly mention one or two of those tools?
Yeah, absolutely. So, sort of the standard way to move through the content with Past Perfect, you do some reading, you do some practice questions, move on to the next section, chapter tests, mastery exams, eventually final exams. So it breaks it down to a pretty structured format, and you do just move through in order, right, from top to bottom. I don't want my students to be jumping around to different sections. We do have some pretty cool new AI tools to help out with that studying, looking up content, looking up, asking questions about, hey, could you describe this in more detail? So sort of that more traditional setting with these new AI tools, pretty amazing tools for our students to help pass these exams.
Yeah, the AI tools are actually pretty sweet. Definitely check those out. Maybe we can discuss some of those a little bit later in some of the future sessions. Also, I see that we have a couple of questions. So Heidi, Raina, Gage, we're going to save those for the Q&A session, but we'll get to those here in just a couple of minutes. So hang tight. We'll answer your questions. Barry, what are the topics or areas of focus that you see students struggle with the most? And what advice do you have for handling those tougher subjects?
Yeah, absolutely. So sort of two categories here. I would say things that people struggle with, options, contracts, something that most people struggle with, calls and puts, being long or short. These are things that people without a background, it's a pretty unique type of security. Good news for the SIE, not heavily tested, right? We need to know the very basics of that. I don't want anyone doing too much emphasis in something that isn't going to lead to too many questions. So where I tell my students to focus their attention is on the most testable topics. And just briefly, I would say any of the debt products, any of the regulations, customer accounts. Those are sort of the biggest areas of the test from number of questions standpoint. So that's where I tell my students to focus that attention. Uh, and then sort of one more thing I'll add in there. When we're going through high school or college class, um, we're looking for 100% understanding, right? Hey, I need to know this equation or, this historical event. It's not really the way to work through the SIE. Hey, we're looking for general understanding of these topics. We're not going to be 100% experts after this test, and that's all right, right? That's expected. That's part of this process. So focus on getting through the content, keep on moving forward, trust the process is what I would tell to those students.
All right. Now, before we kind of jump into answering some of the questions that are in the comments, and guys, also, if you're still just now tuning in, or if you haven't asked a question or you haven't had a comment yet, please drop something in the chat there. We will answer a couple of questions here in a few minutes. Definitely want to give those, have an opportunity to answer your questions. But, Barry, if somebody is on the fence about taking the SIE, what would you tell them to help them decide, if now is the right time or not to take this on?
Yeah, absolutely. So I would say the question really is, hey, are you interested in a career in financial services? If the answer is yes, no reason to not study for and take your SIE exam. And again, whether you're a new grad or even just out of high school, or if you're someone who's mid-career, maybe you're in your 40s, 50s, 60s. I've seen people of all ages start a career in financial services. If that describes you, hey, this is something that I would look into. As we discussed earlier, in terms of looking for a job, if you can have your SIE exam completed by the time you're looking for a job, you're going to absolutely stand out from the competition.
All right. Okay. Well, so since we do have a couple of questions, let's go ahead and jump on those. And let's start with Rihanna's question. And sorry, Rihanna, I think I called you Raina a little bit earlier. I apologize for that. We're juggling a lot of things on this stream here. So she asked, is it a matter of having it or not, or does the score that you actually get on the SIE matter?
Yeah, really good question. So passing score is 70%, and the answer is it's binary, pass or not. If you pass your exam, they actually don't tell you your score. You'll get notified right away whether you passed or not. And if you pass, it just says pass. It doesn't tell you your score. So if you get a 70 or 100%, makes no difference whatsoever. It's binary, pass or not. Good question. If you don't pass, it will tell you your percent, which can help in terms of preparation for another attempt.
Okay, that's interesting. So if you pass, you don't know how well you passed.
Yeah.
But if you don't, you do get a little bit more feedback, so you can think about how to improve if you're going to take another stab at it.
Yep, absolutely.
Okay, so now we've got a question from Heidi. This one's a little bit longer. So working in institutional banking, specifically custody operations, do you think the SIE would be a good intro to understand securities on another level? My employer will take care of certificates they find beneficial. My manager thought it'd be beneficial, want to expand my knowledge. I'm on a regulatory team and could be working to a client-faced role, like maybe a relationship manager. So I think it could be beneficial, but not sure if the SIE is the right path or if there is a better, I think we got cut off there a little bit, but yeah. I think we can probably tackle that. Even if
absolutely. Yeah. So I think that was Heidi who asked that one. I would say, hey, SIE is definitely going to fit that need. And I've worked with many people coming from the banking space, either operations or bank teller, who want to move into, typically a bank will have a broker dealer subsidiary and they want to move into that role, and the SIE would be how to do that. So, and if you're just looking for general industry knowledge, another great way to do it, right? You have expertise in your area of operations. By taking this exam, hey, you will be exposed to more bonds, mutual funds, stocks, common stock, preferred stock, options contracts, in the regulatory framework of the securities industry. So Heidi, I would say it would absolutely make sense based on what you're looking for.
All right. We had a question from Gage who said, I enjoyed McGraw-Hill Connect in accounting classes. Is there a similarity in format with Past Perfect? I'm not familiar with that. And Barry, I don't know if that's one that we're able to speak to.
Yeah, Gage, my apologies. I am not familiar with the McGraw-Hill Connect, so wouldn't be able to speak to that one. Apologies there.
Okay. Trenton asked, what is the best coursework or book to purchase to study? Obviously, I think we're a little bit biased here, but Barry, what would you recommend?
Yeah. So again, I'm going to be biased, but I would say Past Perfect is going to be the best approach. Now, two reasons for that. First off, that's what got me through my exams, but also I've worked with many different broker dealers in my role, and those broker dealers are, a lot of the biggest names in the industry, and they have a vested interest in having their employees pass this exam. And they audit every so often where they look at all the different content providers, all the different study strategies. And year after year, they pick Past Perfect because of the success rate, because of the resources that we offer to our students. So I am biased because that's how I passed my exam, and I now work for Past Perfect. But working with those broker dealers, hey, they pick us for those same reasons. So that's absolutely what I would recommend.
Yeah. Okay. Another question. Wow. You guys really showed up with the questions. This is great. Next question is from Jacob. And I know we're going a little bit over time, but I think we can work through these. And then any others that we don't get to before we have to sign off, we will answer in the comments if we don't get to answer them here live. So what's the typical pass-fail ratio when taking the exam? And are there other exams that are also needed without any sponsorship requirement?
Yeah, absolutely. So typical pass fail is going to depend on the situation, and people coming in who aren't haven't done any coursework, anything like that, the fail rate is going to be very high. For firms that we work with who have dedicated training programs, and I can't speak to exact pass fail rates because I'm actually out of the loop there, but it is significantly higher. So to your question, hey, without any preparation, would be very, very unlikely for anyone, even people who've been trading for their own account for long periods of time, to pass the exam. With the proper preparation, absolutely, those numbers go up significantly.
Okay. And then from Bridget, how could we communicate on our resumes that we're actively studying for the SIE? This is a great question.
Yeah, absolutely. So depending on the format of your resume, right, you could include it in education section, right, saying, hey, actively working towards my SIE, or maybe a extracurricular activity, something like that at the bottom of your resume. But I would put it in there, right? If you're actively studying and you're applying for a role at a financial services firm, would absolutely make sure you get that in there. And if you're talking to a recruiter, like I said, that was a big question they had for me. Hey, how are you at studying? How is your test taking? Because you're going to have to be taking these exams. So get it on there one way or another. Education. Clayton, do you have any other thoughts on that?
Absolutely. As a social media professional, one thing I would say is those employers are going to look at your LinkedIn profile. So be active on your LinkedIn profile about your experience. Say, hey, post a picture of your SIE materials, of your Past Perfect login on your first day sitting down to take a course with Barry, or working through the material, and say, hey, I'm working on the SIE. I'm excited about this. You could even, say that you can put it maybe in your profile too, that you're an SIE candidate, or, something along those lines. But, communicating about that on your LinkedIn profile is a really great way to let employers know, because they absolutely are going to take a look at your profile especially if you've linked it on your resume. So great question, Bridget. Thank you for that. Okay. Next one from Mason. As someone who's tutored many people to get the SIE, do you ever feel as though someone should be studying for a different certification instead of the SIE? Like CPA, CFA? If so, how do you decide which is the best certification for that person?
Yeah, so this really good question, Mason. This really comes down to, hey, what is that person looking to do in their career? The people I work with, hey, they're going to be working for broker dealers, for investment advisors, specifically in that securities industry. Um, and so the SIE is definitely the starting point for that journey. If you're looking more for, accounting, career, something like that, that's where some of those others may make sense. Um, and I will say, even for people who aren't going to be entering the industry, hey, helping clients buy and sell stocks and ETFs and that sort of thing, the knowledge you gain from the SIE is could be very helpful, right? For people just in your own investing, understanding the markets, the knowledge you would get here would be pretty helpful for, I would say, pretty much anyone. But again, I'm primarily working with folks who are specifically going to be working at broker dealers, at investment advisors, and absolutely need to get their SIE.
Yeah, and Mason, I would also encourage you to explore the Serify website, serify.com. We have a lot of other brands that do, we do CFA, we do CFP, other types of financial industry certification, licensing. So definitely visit serify.com and explore, some of our other offerings there, because we really do offer a full accounting of all of the different ways that you can grow in a financial services career. So serify.com, it's definitely worth a look if you're thinking that some of the other options might be what you want to explore. So we got a couple more questions. Barry, do you have a couple more minutes that you can stick around?
Yeah, absolutely.
Great. It looks like we're down to the last two, so we'll go ahead and get through these. So another one from Jacob. What does it look like? What does the process look like after you pass? How do you show that to employers? Again, really great question, Jacob. Thank you.
Yeah, so for those who take the SIE without that broker dealer sponsorship or without the firm sponsorship, the results will last for 4 years. So if you get hired by a firm within those 4 years, you won't have to take your SIE again. You'll move on to your qualification exam. And those employers, they have a way to communicate with FINRA to see, hey, yes, they did pass their SIE, but it will be good for 4 years. So it's not like if you take the exam, you have to get hired immediately. You have a little bit of leeway in terms of actually getting hired.
And Jacob, I'll add, post about it on LinkedIn when you get that email that says, hey, congratulations, you passed. If you post about it and you tag Past Perfect saying, hey, I used Past Perfect, we will repost that. Every single time. We love to celebrate with our students whenever they pass. Really, there's not much better than seeing a Past Perfect student unlock that new career achievement by passing the SIE or the Series 7 or whatever exam it is. We want to celebrate that with you. So that goes for any of you who end up taking a course with us. When you pass and you get that email, share it on LinkedIn, and we will be happy to gas you up and share that as well. Okay, I think this is the last one that we've got. This one's from Anthony. How quickly should we be completing the material, and do you recommend taking notes while reading or after you've taken quizzes and tests?
Yeah, really good question, Anthony. So the first one, how long does the study process look? Typically, it's 4 to 8 weeks, depending on how much dedicated study time you could have. And I told you earlier, 40 to 80 hours of dedicated study time is a typical timeline. So 40 to 80 hours over 4 to 8 weeks is what I typically see. And then really good question about taking notes. This is somewhere where I see a lot of my students struggling when they first start to study, is that they're taking too many notes. We're coming from university environment, that sort of thing. And I find my students rewriting the text, right? And they end up with notebooks and notebooks of notes. That is not what I want you to do. That's going to slow you down too much. You're going to end up getting behind in content. And honestly, you're never going to go back and review that material. So as you're moving through the material for the first time, the analogy I use, it's sort of like reading a newspaper. We're looking for general understanding of the topic. And then as we move into practice questions, mastery exams, final exams eventually, that's where we're taking all this general knowledge and see, hey, how can we get questions about this? So minimize note taking through the process. It's going to feel uncomfortable for many folks. I know it did for me, but that is the best way to get through the content. And when you're reviewing those quizzes or tests, I want you to keep even those notes pretty sparse, right? A vital definition or a vital concept, but I do not want you to be rereading the text. It's not going to be the best use of your time, is how I would put it.
Whew, as a note taker, dedicated note taker, you're giving me a little bit of anxiety when you say that, Barry. But no, I think that's really good. Really good advice. And thank you for the question there, Anthony. Thank you to everybody who shared questions. Also, if you tuned in late or if you're not watching this live and you have questions, you can share them in the comments and we will still get to them later on. We'll be checking those and we can answer anything that comes up. Or if you did tune in live and you got a question that occurs to you later, drop that in the comments and we will get back to you with an answer. So thank you all so much to everybody who tuned in to this live stream. Again, this is the first part of a 3-part live stream series. The next installation will be coming up on March 26th. So mark your calendars for that. We are also going to drop the link to register for that into the comments. So you can click on it and register there to save your seat. Today, we talked about what the SIE is, why it matters, how it helps set you apart and helps you get your foot in the door in the financial services industry, why you need it and why it is essential. I mean, it's right there in the name of the exam, the Securities Industry Essentials exam. But the other 2 parts are going to go a little bit deeper into the actual nuts and bolts of passing the exam. We're going to talk about strategies. We're going to talk about the tactics you need, tools that you might use. So again, March 26th for part 2. Please make sure that you register. Please make sure that you show up with some questions and some comments. Loved seeing everybody drop where they're tuning in from. If you tuned into this, congratulations. You are already on the right track, even just thinking about these things and considering this as you think about your next career steps. So again, check out the comments on this post. We're going to have testimonials and stories from students just like you who have passed the SIE with Pass Perfect. And we're going to have that registration link for part 2. And hopefully we will see you there on March 26th. Also, if you registered for this, we're going to be sending you a free guide to passing your securities industry exams. So keep an eye on your email inbox because that should be coming very, very soon. I don't know if it'll be today, but it will be soon. So thank you to everybody who tuned in. Barry, thank you so much. This was a fabulous conversation. You brought so much expertise and insight, and I think just like really grounded, wonderful advice for everybody who tuned in. Fabulous. Really appreciate your time and your expertise. And guys, you could be learning from Barry in just a matter of weeks. You can see all of our courses at passperfect.com. Just check out our securities tab, and you can see all of the different securities industry exams that we offer, including SIE. We even have some SIE bundle packages where you can bundle the SIE with, I believe, the Series 7 to kind of knock out some of those first exams kind of in one swoop. So thank you very much. We will see you on March 26th. And Barry, we appreciate you.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me, Clayton. It's been a pleasure. To everyone in the audience, thank you for coming, and all the best with your future career prospects. Looking forward to seeing some of you all.
All right. Bye.